Inside Racing is brought to you by Dunlop.
Welcome back to Inside Racing. Coming up, a racing tyre is born. Now, the true hero of the racetracks of the 1960s. The history of motorsport has produced numerous legends, and to this day, he is regarded as one of the most dazzling personalities ever. Jim Clark, 2 times Formula One world champion and Indy 500 winner, a role model for many that followed, never forgotten by those who knew him themselves at the race circuits of the 60s.
We shared an apartment, so we were every morning we'd go out to breakfast. We were completely useless in the kitchen. Jimmy had so many girlfriends, I cannot tell you. He was amazing.
He was no daredevil, he was a skilled driver.
A Jekyll and Hyde. Off the track he was a bit nervous and undecided. Will we, won't we? But you put him in a car and you wouldn't see him for dust. Not
only was he really skillful in the track, but every single one of those girlfriends thought they were the only ones. I mean, we all admired that one.
Born in 1936 in Kilmarnock, Scotland, James Jim Clark, the farmer's son. Aged 18, he began his racing career, DKW, Porsche and Formula Junior. From 1960, he raced for Colin Chapman. The Lotus engineer was the technical Formula One genius of his day. In 1963 and 65, Clark led the team to the title.
The finest racing driver I certainly ever raced against. He was so smooth, so clean. His behaviour on the track was impeccable. A Scottish farmer. Nobody quite knew whether he preferred motor racing or going to the sheep sales in Berwick.
Farmer, racer and ladies' man. Debonair ease coupled with an iron competitive will. For example, in the 1967 Italian Grand Prix. Technical problems cost him a full lap, but thanks to brilliant driving, he worked his way back to the front until his petrol pumps then gave out. Goodwood today, compatriot Jackie Stewart, himself one of the really great motor racing icons, honours his friend and colleague. Driving off in Clark's black helmet, a 1965 Indy 500 winning car, the Lotus 38. The young Stewart, back then in the slipstream of the great star, memories recalled on the stage of Inside Racing Live.
He was silky smooth to follow him, because 3 times in my first year in Formula One, I finished second to Jimmy, and we were on the podium together. And for 2 Scotsmen to be on the podium at that time was a big deal. And we then got tagged as Batman and Robin. And there was no doubt who was Batman and who was Robin, I can tell you.
An exceptional driver and tragic hero, Jim Clark's fate was decided in a meaningless Formula 2 race on the Hockenheimring in 1968. On the 5th lap, the 32-year-old's car spun off the track and crashed into a tree. Then the race ended and we had no idea that an ambulance had been out into the woods. It was parked there, but we didn't know it was Jim Clark. Then I came into the paddock and my father said, "What happened to Jim Clark?" And only then did we realize. The man on the tannoy then said, "Ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Formula One champion Jim Clark has crashed and died."
All the people in the pits, the drivers, as soon as it was confirmed, it's very cold atmosphere. All up, everyone. People thought, the drivers thought, if it could happen to Jimmy, it could happen to me.
Up until this tragedy, Jim Clark had recorded 25 Formula One wins, more than anybody had ever achieved before. Former champion Juan Manuel Fangio honoured the Scot before his fatal accident with the words, "For me, by far the greatest racing driver of all time." In 2011, Jim Clark would have been 75. Now, in search of the perfect compound, the process of racing tyre production. lap after lap, day after day. Even before the season begins, the car has to show in testing what it can do and endure. The key to success, however, lies in the tyres. Only if they're right for the car can a win be achieved. Let's look a bit closer at the secret under the wheel arch. It's all about this black viscous compound. The perfect mix consists of over 50 natural and chemical products, and developing them is a science in itself.
So it will be important to get the best material properties for those compound mix. So in a tire you may have, for example, about 15 different compound mix in a tire. You will have different tread compound for the road, to contact with the road, to generate the grip of the tire. You will have different compounds in the belt, make sure the tire doesn't heat too much in the shoulders. Different compounds to reinforce the bead area, so where you will transmit the forces from the carcass to the rim.
The right compound, however, has also got to be worked in the right way. While being constantly heated, the mats produced get folded, smoothed and compacted again and again. As with conching chocolate, the mix thus becomes ever finer and of higher quality. The strips created in this way then get washed several times and thus cleaned of any residual pieces. Cut to size for later use, they get marked up and put into interim storage. A lifetime of many kilometers is now the target in the next step. By adding wire or cords, depending on the intended use, plies or beads get produced here that later hold the tire onto the rim. Built up then on top of the bead are the radial plies, which form the tire's substructure and absorb lateral forces. Lengthways belts provide directional stability and together with the substructure create a torsion-resistant tire.
I think the tire is one of the most complex things you can encounter on Earth. It's more complex than aircraft, so it's more complex than vehicle.
This is also made clear by the high-tech materials in racing tires. Extremely strong synthetic fibers create very lightweight, durable structures. First, the racing tire's substructure gets built up layer by layer by experts with many years of experience. The tire shoulder is made especially robust. Here, multiple plies and the fold-over produce extreme durability. After the final ply, the sidewall gets reinforced one last time and the bead thus securely embedded. The finished substructure, here light grey and white, forms the basis for the belts, sidewalls and running surface. Here too, the tire gets built up layer by layer. For optimum fit and durability, every strip is cut diagonally. Now it becomes clear why it's called what it is. See here how the belt gets put on, which just leaves the running surface. In this machine, substructure and top layer get joined and bonded together. Even though they look already finished, these are green tires on the way to curing. In the curing process we use pressures of between 21 and 28 bar. Temperatures we use are between 160 and 185 degrees. Milled from one block, molds are created that give the tire its tread and lettering during the cutting process. Hidden under the wheel arch, there's thus lots of high-tech know-how, be it on the road or on